Hey, welcome. This is the 19th episode of the Journeys Webcast. Life in the time of Corona and beyond. And so 19 of these. I think the first one that I hosted was April 13th. So long ago, and so much has happened in the what is that, 6 months or so? That's unbelievable. The word of the year for 2020, I think, is clearly going to be unprecedented, right? Because everything is unprecedented. Look where we are now. It's September 14th, yeah, and we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Nearly 200,000 people have died. Millions have been exposed to this virus. Then we have this crazy social and racial injustice and protests, and mostly peaceful, but the violent ones seem to grab the headlines a lot easier. And now we've got these raging wildfires heating up the West Coast like nothing we've ever seen before. 6 of the worst 20 fires in California's history happened this month. This year. Maybe it is this month. I don't have those exact statistics, but the air quality in parts of Washington and Oregon, our states in the north of us, our neighbors, worse in the world. Nobody's got worse air quality. People can't go outside, and then we're running into this heat wave on top of that. And for those that don't have air conditioning or some sort of filtration system in their homes, are really having a bad way of this. And then I look at the neighborhoods that in a matter of minutes it blaze like a torch, just blows up and devastates everything. It breaks my heart when I look on the news shows and I see these people going back to their neighborhood and seeing what's left, sifting through the rubble, trying to make sense of what it is. I have a friend, a trainer at the local gym, who, when he was younger, in his teens, he lived inland a little bit more in California here, in East San Diego County, and his family lost their home to a wildfire, some 15, 20 years ago. And if you think about it, what we hold on to, what we find that we love so much, like I could reach over to my camera, or there's my guitar behind me. These things, these possessions that we hold on to, that for me, some of the things that I hold on to are things that give me the ability to express, have a creative outlet. But anyway, when you lose everything, and this Jay is his name, and he's got a really interesting perspective on it. He definitely adheres to the minimalist lifestyle. He doesn't have a lot of things. Things don't define him. And as I always say, things shouldn't define anyone. Our experiences are what we are. We are the sum of our experiences. And his experience in losing his family's home and everything in it, it gives a whole perspective that, frankly, I can't have, because I've never lost everything. Now, I've sold most of what I owned before I went on my 3-year motorcycle journey, but losing everything, and what we're seeing is tens of thousands of homes here in California, Washington, and Oregon. People sadly losing their things, their lives, their homes, a bed, a place to sleep. And then the fourth thing I think we have to look at as we move here into September, we're 49 days right now, 49 days from a presidential election that its results, the fate of that election, will have an impact on America for more than another generation. I guarantee it. If you are a U.S. citizen and you're tuned in today, be sure you vote And if you haven't registered to vote, you still can. And if you're worried about the polls, it's okay. You can request an absentee or a mail-in ballot. Maybe you live in a state where they're going to automatically mail you one, but you've got to register and you've got to fill it out. This is so important. Pandemics, racial and economic injustice in our world, raging wildfires and hurricane. I just saw a picture in Louisiana right now. They're having more hurricanes in this season that they think they're going to run through the alphabet. When they name hurricanes, the weather force, service that does this job, that is tasked with naming the hurricane. I think we have Sally is what we're worried about. Excuse me. They start at the beginning of the season with the letter A, and then they go to B, and they go through the alphabet. We're at S now. They're afraid that they're going to have to start recycling the alphabet because we still have another 3.5 months of this year, and we probably have another month and a half of the hurricane season. But how can we identify what is a hurricane season anyway? So down there are people that have taken their motor vehicles, their RVs, and their boats, and they've moved them from low-lying areas in Louisiana to high areas along Interstate 46, and they've parked them on the grass. It's like there's a drone photograph of this, and you can see it going for miles. So people are hoping that they can move their vehicles out because they may get an incredible amount of water and rain, and then a storm surge that could really devastate people in the South. So you've got fires in the West, you got water in the South, and in between, we're all living through a pandemic, a crazy thing. So who's joining us today? We've got the chat box open here. As I said, you are my guest. So introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, where you're coming in from, and if you want to go ahead and join me in the room, we'll have a little conversation and see what's happening in your life. What's your journey been like since I started this webcast? Don't be shy. I know there's people in the room, and you can just hit down there. If you can see, there's a little box down there. Say hello. I'll go ahead and do it. There we go. Oh, it's Chris. Chris from California. Awesome. Chris is I think Chris is my neighbor. Yes, and a fellow world rider as well. Maybe we should bring on Chris. Chris, you want to join us in the room? Say hello. And Julia, excellent. I am so happy you're on. We want to bring you into the room too. Julia is in Peru, and she is a Kazakhstani person, but been living in South America for quite a while. Okay, so here's what we do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Chris. Chris, you're going to get a little, what do you call it? A little request. You want to have your cam and your webcam and a microphone there, but accept the request as a presenter. And we'll bring in, say hello. Oh, Ellie is with us. Ellie, awesome. Still in Oceanside. She's still caretaking the person who had a terrible accident. That's good. We could even bring you on as well. We've got some people here. Mike in Montreal. Awesome. So, Chris, I sent you an invitation as a presenter. If you go ahead and click that, you can join us in the room. Okay, Chris is joining the room. Now, up in your upper left corner, you're going to see two icons. One is for your camera and one's for your microphone. It sounds like your mic is on. Can you hear me?
Are you talking to me, Alan?
Yes, Chris.
Oh, okay. I just went through like a 2-minute protocol.
Yes, security here on the Journeys Webcast. Can you turn your camera on?
Let's see. I do this all day, but not on this format. Let's see here. Is that the camera right there?
It's a little blue icon. Hey, there he is.
There we go. I'm here.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Foster. How are you, sir?
I wasn't prepared to be on. I was just dropping in to say hi.
Well, it's okay. This is kind of a new thing we're doing here. I'm going to do this once every 4 or 6 weeks. It's just people who tune in and then see how you're doing. I'll say a little bit about you, but you can kind of fill it in. But Chris is also a BMW motorcycle rider. He's ridden all of Africa, most of Europe. And definitely lots of Baja, and I'm not sure about his South American journeys. And he's also a surfer and a neighbor here in Leucadia and a Forks reader. What's happening in your life, Chris? Do share.
Well, I'm some of the stuff you talked about. I wasn't prepared to talk, so I'm going to get my hair done here. I'm just getting the legs cut off of my travel like everybody else, getting a little eager to do something. Been doing a little bit of America stuff, but then we're getting smoked out. And, I got a trip planned, a little motorcycle trip around Southwest United States in the middle of October, but we're going to see how that goes. So looking at some domestic stuff, holding tight, trying to do my part to help, bring down the pandemic and be responsible. So not really moving much.
You're practicing good social distancing and you're wearing a mask.
Yes, I went to physical therapy this morning, rode my bicycle there, and remembered my mask this time because last time I went, I got my bike shoes, my helmet, my water bottle, and I get to physical therapy. I don't have a mask.
Now, did they give you one?
No, the guy looked at me in shock and turned me around. I didn't ask. I was so embarrassed that I forgot. I just sort of went out the door and went home with my tail between my legs.
Oh, so this is a very funny story. I am doing physical therapy. In fact, I'll talk about this in a little bit as well right now for this crazy vertigo thing that I've been going through. And on Thursday last week, I had my second vestibular therapy session with Francesca, and I showed up there. I got all the way down to the bottom, and where I live. I got, I'm only have to go about 3 miles. But the last time, my first appointment, I showed up late, and I felt really bad about that. And I get to the halfway there, and I realize I don't have my mask, like you. And I'm contemplating. It's like, okay, do I want to show up late again and be the guy who's always late, or do I want to show up and be the guy that just forgets his mask? I had my mask last time, so I show up there, and I just said when I got to the check-in station, and here at the outpatient physical therapy center, they have the check-in outside, a woman at a table with a big plexiglass covering her with her computer. And I said, can I buy a mask? That's what I said. And she opened up a drawer in her little desk there, and she says, no, I'll give you one. And here. And she gave me it was cute. It was a pink one. Yeah. Pinky.
Well, getting in touch with your, feminine side. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about your motorcycle travels in the past. Like you're quite the adventurer, and I know you were in Nepal just before this pandemic hit. Where else have you been?
Well, I think it was 10 years ago I did the Vladivostok to home route. So rode across Siberia through Vladivostok, and I was just talking to someone about that day, like reading the signage in the middle of nowhere, trying to figure out what those little upside down and backward symbols meant, So it went from Vladivostok to Belgium to Florida, and then Florida home.
Wow, that's a long trip. How long was the total duration?
I'm not really sure. I went to Korea first, then I rode up through Korea, then got on that ferry and went around North Korea, and then got off that first stop in Russia. I don't remember the names of all the cities, but it was a lot of fun. It was kind of the Wild West. Not much was going on, and it was still a lot of dirt then. Yeah.
When was this? What year?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And you just recently did you got yourself some Royal Enfields, I guess, and
yeah. That was a fun one. We went to Nepal, got some Royal Enfields, had to do the 1960s technology and get our butt kicked. I did it the year before last, and then I took my wife this year. on the back. And so we got the 500. I thought it would be a little more robust on the suspension. It wasn't. It was just another, half a horsepower and some more weight and sludge through the mud and muck and everything like that. And we went up to Muktanak along a trail that used to be foot only through the Annapurnas, but had a great time. Great people, great fun, great food, nothing but awesomeness.
Wow. And were you doing that alone, or were you?
No, we went with a couple of friends. I went with a I took a guy that had never been riding before.
Oh, no.
I made him go through that motorcycle safety foundation course. Then I got my lightest bike and I put him up, where it is, along the 101 in Ponto. There's that big dirt area up there.
Yep.
And took him out for several weekends in a row, including the muddy weekend, and had him ride through that and crash a bunch of times. And he says, "Is this really necessary?" I said, "Yeah, so you won't drop off an 8,000 foot, cliff. Yeah, it's better to just fall over 2 feet than drop off the side of a mountain." So, and he did great. No injuries. Dumped it a few times. He didn't ride the Royal Enfield. He took like a 185 Indian bike, which was perfect for him. It was probably half of the weight of the Enfield.
Awesome. So, and you're a local San Diego Leucadian. Where our community here is very famous for surfing. Of course, I don't surf, but when's the last time you were in the water, and how was it?
About 2 days ago. Nice and warm. Yeah. Nice and warm, small waves. Get you some social distancing with the people. Getting up and down the access, though, is different because no one's masking up, going up and down. So you got that little only 2.5 feet wide. Yeah,
that's that. I noticed that about maybe a third of the people are masking, but most of the surfers are not, because I guess that becomes a challenge. I don't know, be in the water and then out of the water. Awesome. Well, I've been my new electric bike, and I know you're also a bicyclist, and I'm wondering whether you're ready to get a motor on yours.
Well, I was going to come by your house whatever time you're ready today, and I'll go with you on my normal bike, and I'll ride over with you.
Awesome. And by the way, that area where you showed your friend how to do a little off-roading has now been curbed off. Did you notice that?
No.
Yeah.
Notice that.
You can't drive in there anymore. Because of they're building a resort. For those of you, we live in Encinitas, California, right on the border of Carlsbad and Encinitas, on the beach. There's a new resort that's been being built, been under construction for a year and a half or so. And there's been a lot of jockeying of lanes and digging up the road. And so they just redid a thing and put a curb. And so no going in there. I used to like to go in there with my van, and then that's where I would fly my drone from, because I got a great perspective and I want to get some good drone shots there. But yeah. Okay, mister, I see Alan Tecchio from New Jersey is tuned in. We've got Michael in Montreal. We also have Julia in Peru. So I'm going to...
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, man. Okay, Alan, you're good till 6:45. Okay, so I'm going to have you come on in just a moment. I want to bring in Julia in Peru. Julia's been tuned into a few of these Journeys webcasts before. She's never, I think I've ever seen her in the chat, but last week I got an email from her because she was reading my email messages and about my vertigo that I've been going under, that I've been dealing with. It's daunting, that's for sure. In fact, I'll do a quick update while Julia gets connected here. As I said when Chris was on, I'm doing some physical therapy, and I get homework. This is my little exercise, and what it is exercises to foster substitution of alternative strategies to promote gaze stability. Okay, I'm going to say that again because it's a mouthful. Exercises to foster substitution of alternative strategies to promote gaze stability. And basically, it's a lot of nodding and shaking my head and focusing on different objects. That's what I'm doing. But Julia sent me an email, and she is actually here she comes. Awesome. She is a therapist herself, and is in a special Swiss. Are you there, Julia?
Hi.
There you are. Hello. Welcome to California.
For me?
Yep, I can hear you. You're outside. We see clouds. You got a lot more blue sky than we have here. We've got smoke and craziness.
Yes, I can.
You've been watching the news, I imagine, huh?
Yes, well, I'm in a very natural spot here, near the Kolka Canyon, so there's a lot of nature, and I guess I don't like to spend time indoors. It's far better to be outside.
That's nice. It looks good. So, I was just telling the audience here how you are a specialist in this Atlas type of therapy, which is like a massage therapist type of thing.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, about 4 years ago, actually, my journey into this alternative therapy started because I went through the therapy myself. I never thought that I have skeletal problems, but apparently I had them. And having that therapy done to me really got my brain guided. And I figured if so many good things happen to my body, I want to learn this thing so I can actually help a lot more people to live freer and more flexible lives, literally.
Yeah, and from what I understand,
yeah,
it completely changed your life. What I understand is it focuses on your alignment of your neck and your spine, but unlike a chiropractor who cracks bones, this is focusing on muscles and right. Is that too simple of a way to say
perfect
it?
summary. It's a perfect summary. Yes, it's actually Atlanta axial joint is atlas and axis are the two first cervical vertebrae, which are directly underneath your skull. And very often they get malrotated either at birth or if you have had a serious accident, especially involving whiplash. So yeah, that literally it's a balancing joint which holds your head either straight or slightly tilted, maybe turned, and it affects the posture of the entire body because the head is the heaviest part, and if it's not straight,
right,
your whole body is going to be curving underneath to make sure that you're not falling down, because if it's a little bit down, you're basically going to be falling into whichever direction your head is tilting.
Yeah.
So that's the basic of therapy, and it's a fairly simple therapy. There are different applications. I have gone through a Russian school, which is painless, and it's about an hour and a half procedure, but pretty much one time and you're done. You never see me again.
So much for recurring customers.
yeah. Doctors called me a very stupid therapist, and I do agree, but because I guess I never went into a medical field per se, I don't mind. I mean, I see people on average probably 3 or 4 times, and that's about it. I called them a year later, asked them if they got rid of the pain, and if they don't, oh, who are you? Oh, yeah, I remember you. So that's usually very nice to hear.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. So tell us a little bit about your journey from Kazakhstan, right? Because that's where you were born, to Peru.
Oh, there's I guess the story long. To make it shorter, I lived in Kazakhstan during Soviet days still, I think until I was 14 or 15. Soviet Union fell apart. I did my higher education to a certain extent, ended up dropping out of 2 universities, going as a full-time volunteer to India for 13 years, where first time I sat on a bike. And that was a very long time ago in India. Yeah, the little kinetic Honda scooter, and I think that was my first try of a 2-wheel transportation. And many years later, it so happened, life kind of puts you into these situations, and I ended up in Ecuador. I was actually almost forcefully brought there by a friend who didn't want to go alone, and because she was a tourist agent, she just bought me a ticket and gave me no choice whether I'd go or not. So I ended up in Ecuador. I loved it. Came back the next year, figured that walking the beach is fine, but I also want to see a country. So I got myself a little Chinese scooter, the one that I remembered from India. Rode it for probably 100 kilometers outside the village where I lived, until one day got a request from a friend to help them figure out a way how to drive from Ecuadorian coast to Peru. And that was my first journey. I was always scared to go on a scooter alone across Ecuador, even though I have plenty of customers, plenty of people who I do therapy for in different parts of the country. And I figured, hey, a man coming with me on a bike, let's go.
Let's go.
And there was no return after that. Sí, ahora sí.
Sí,
Mejor.
okay.
I think that was the trip when I actually learned Spanish. I learned it literally in 2 weeks because crossing the country on a 150cc automatic scooter is a bad idea, especially in Andes. So my scooter.
Yeah. I imagine you had some tough times on some of those high elevations.
Every day.
Yeah.
I had it every day. I probably still today know some parts of the engine in Spanish, and I don't know what they're called in English or in Russian.
That's funny. Yeah. So, and now I understand. From that journey on your scooter, you now have gone through. You're on your. You got a motorcycle, the third two-wheel. Yeah, and you were on your way to Ushuaia because you're still technically living in Ecuador, right?
Well, I had to give up my residency because this trip would have taken me out of the country for a longer period that was permitted. But I still like Ecuador, although I don't know, by the time this journey ends, what's going to happen with me? God only knows.
So you're kind of stuck in Peru because you can't really leave there right now. Is that true?
Yes. It's been 7 months. I've entered the country on the 2nd of February, so it's been a while. Visa is expired, all kinds of permit, everything is expired, but thankfully all the paperwork gets extended automatically until the end of the state of emergency. So, okay.
Wow. So how are you faring?
Pretty good. Actually able to travel, even though it involves literally breaking the rules because technically speaking, tourists are not allowed to be moving around now, and most of the tourist attractions are closed. So, but okay, it just takes 3, 4, 5 times sometimes talking to police officers and saying, please let me go. I want to go there. And I need to go there because you have your family and I don't. And I want to go somewhere else.
You're alone, right?
No, I'm traveling with a friend.
Oh, you got a friend. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 of us.
You got 2 of it on a motorcycle as well?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So when do you think you're going to be able to get out of Peru? What's your best case thought?
You know how we say now, fingers crossed, 1st of October, maybe there will be some changes to the restrictions.
Wow.
It seems like South America is kind of opening up. I know Ecuador has opened its borders, and there is talk about Argentina opening. And I guess let's see. It's unpredictable here because quite a few countries, namely Argentina and Chile, are having also political problems within during the quarantine. So it's an adventure.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Wow. That's I wish you lots of luck. I would like you to stick around because I'd like you maybe to come back on before we end. But there's another guy on here who has to leave in about 10 minutes, and I just wanted to bring him on for a minute. And so sit by, keep that link handy, and I'm gonna I'll send you off, but we'll come back.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Let's bring in Alan. I hope you're still there. I'm going to invite you in as a presenter. You'll have to go through the same thing as I've been saying. It's a little testing procedure. So Julia, I mean, look, she's been since February 2nd stuck in Peru. Wow. Now we had on last time we did this You Are My Guest episode of the webcast. Adele Good, some of you may remember if you were tuned in then. She joined us from Peru. She has a project called the Joy Codes. I'm going to try to connect Julia with Adele and see if they can't connect, even though Julia is not Adele is not a motorcycle rider. This is Dice, by the way. Say hi, Dice. Dicey, I'm fostering Dicey. Dicey is available for adoption. He is really good. Okay. I guess while we wait for Alan, Alan, are you still there? I've had this bottle of wine open up here, not opened actually, sitting here. I didn't need a corkscrew, but this is a nice rosé from Alexander Valley Vineyards, a rosé of Sangiovese, and I like this wine because it's real crisp. It's got good acidity. It's perfect for a Monday afternoon during a Journeys webcast. And we'll bring you on for a few minutes before you have to leave. Okay, here he goes, Alan Tecchio. And there's a little button in the upper left that you have to activate your camera, Alan.
There you go.
There he is. There
Sorry,
he
brother.
is.
I thought I was disconnected there for a minute, but I'm back in.
All right. Well, hey, how are you, man? How are things in New Jersey?
Good, Alan. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, other than the vertigo shit, but I'm hanging in there.
I'm sorry to hear about that. That does not sound fun.
Oh, it's crazy, but I'm putting a lot of faith in Francesca at the vestibular physical therapy session. I have another one on Wednesday. Oh. Hey, I want to just tell everybody a quick story, an Alan Tecchio story. It's pretty amazing. Is I went to Iceland a few years ago and shipped my motorcycle to Iceland from New Jersey. I had been riding on the in the country, and I'd left my motorcycle with my friend Tim in New Jersey, in the same town in Denville where Alan lives, which is crazy. But Alan had found me through my book Forks, which the local little sandwich shop was selling there. Oh, you got a kitty too. Who's that?
Yeah, this is Oliver. He is totally awesome. He's the best kitty cat ever.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see him here that well, but
yes, Oliver. Oh,
he's hanging. Anyway.
So anyway, I had that there, and as crunch time was coming along, I needed to get my motorcycle serviced by the BMW dealer out there on the East Coast, and Alan had previously contacted me and interviewed me for a local paper that you write for, and did a little article on my book, did a little book review on it, and when I was thinking to Tim, I'm like, Tim doesn't ride motorcycles. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I need to get that motorcycle moved. And Tim doesn't have a truck he can carry it in. So I just, out of the blue, I contacted Alan and say, hey, would you like to ride my bike to the dealer? And they arranged to do it. And sadly, it was like a really bad rainy day, wasn't it?
It turned out to be a nasty kind of rainy day. Yeah.
Now, is this a hairless? Is Oliver a hairless cat?
He is. He's a Sphinx.
Ah, Tim and Lisa used to have one. You might remember.
Really? They're not still in Denville, are they?
No, they've moved to Santa Monica, to California.
Oh, nice.
Lisa, his wife, got a job somewhere out here, and they're renting their apartment in New York City. And I don't know whether they'll be in Denville anytime soon, though. But of course, they have a beautiful house.
There were other folks in the house. I didn't know if they were like Tim's friends or whatever, but it's all good.
Yeah.
It was a great day. It was a great day. And by the way, the Sphinx, the only cat that can actually grab things with his hands. He actually has like independent fingers that can grasp things, unlike most cats.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if I can. Well, he's climbing on my back now.
Ah,
Here he goes.
this is exactly what Emma, Tim and Lisa's old cat used to do. Always be on their shoulders.
Yeah,
funny.
they're like flying demonic dragons, but they're super affectionate. They're almost like dogs, you know. They're very cool.
Yeah, I have my real cat. My original cat is a Bengal, and
Nice.
or at least part Bengal. I mean, I don't know if she's it was a stray that that actually adopted me here at this house. Yeah, so she's been with me now for about 5 years. So
awesome. God bless.
And she's sleeping in the other room. But yeah, it's really super, and also like a kind of a dog. Comes to me when I call. Just really good. So you're a motorcyclist and a rock star.
Well, in a way. In a small way, but yeah.
Give us a little anecdote of rock meets motorcycles.
Well, I mean, I've been singing heavy metal since the 80s. I've been in a whole bunch of bands like Hades, Nonfiction, Watchtower. I have a band now called Level Fields with a couple guys in Germany, and my bass player's here in Jersey and Chatham. And the motorcycling, it's always been a part of my life since I was a kid doing dirt bikes before I had a license to ride on the street. Eventually got my license, eventually became a motorcycle safety instructor, a rider coach, so to speak. I did that for about 15 years. And I just retired a couple of years ago just because my kids are now 12 and 14 and I have no time to teach really. But still ride all the time. I did a killer ride yesterday up for probably about 200 miles. Nothing crazy. I mean, it's not like the, intercontinental adventures that a lot of your guests have. But it was very scenic and very twisty and beautiful, and with a bunch of great guys who were super competent riders and respectful riders, and we all kind of looked out for each other. The ones that wanted to go fast, kind of let them go ahead. And then we would catch up to everybody and just have a nice lunch and chill out and talk about life and whatnot, So
yeah,
love riding and still love playing. I'm actually working on a book right now with a guy named Frank White. And tonight he's coming over. We're going to do a writing session for a book called Jersey Metal, which is all about heavy metal and hard rock in New Jersey from the early 70s until today. So I got a bunch of irons in the fire, so to speak.
Oh, sounds good. Little creative plus historical work there. Uh-huh. Yeah. You also know, as we, for those of us, for those of you in the webcast today that have watched several of these, Jerry D'Alessandro was in Mexico. He tuned in way back in May, I believe. And you actually know him from that Jersey Metal days.
I know Jerry very, very well. We played together in bands for many years. One of their big things that he didn't mention in the interview, not that there was a reason to mention it, but I will mention it, was they used to come out. I mean, these guys in his band, Planet Dread, had some of the longest hair imaginable. And we all had very long hair down to our waists at that time, but these guys just had these bushes of hair that were super noticeable. And their thing was, a lot of times they'd come out, not that this is their thing, but one thing they did was they'd throw long stem roses out to all the girls in the audience. And there weren't a ton of girls at our show. But actually our band did start to draw in a bunch of girls, and they would throw roses out to everybody, and it was very endearing and cool. And he worked at a florist, and he was on my route. I used to deliver a music magazine, and when I found out where he worked and who he was, I would stop by the florist shop and leave him a couple magazines each week, just because he was a cool guy, and I was good friends with his other guitar player. So it was just a small world, and to see him on your show was classic.
You're out of the blue, right? This is crazy.
Cool. So
well, it is funny how all these intersections, I look at it, the warp and woof of a big tapestry, that somehow, your one thread down here is connected to another one here. You just don't know when that thread is gonna come to fruition, to where you can see it in front of you. And like me, having you ride my motorcycle, sadly on a bad day, but now you can say you've ridden on a motorcycle that's been to 80 countries or something like that.
No, it's great, dude. That bike was cool. That bike was great. I love that bike.
Yeah, what are you riding?
So I have a Yamaha FJ09. That's my street bike. And then I have a 1975 Yamaha DT250 two-stroke, which is an enduro. It's actually an antique bike. I got the Q plates for it. And that's just kind of the around the town bike. I don't hammer it in the woods or anything because it's just 75, technology. But I recently resealed the entire tank, the gas tank, redid the seat cover. I'm waiting right now for the battery, which should arrive tomorrow with the acid to put into it so I can charge it. And that's probably the last thing I need to do to it. And it should be nice.
Really nice. Nice vintage bike. 75, you said?
It is.
Yeah.
Orange and
I've
white.
got it. I have my dad had a bike that he rarely ever rode, but it just sat on a trickle charger in the garage, and I told him, don't you ever sell it. But it's a 72 CB 175 Honda, just like a little kind of and it's got 1,100 miles on it.
Oh, original miles?
Original miles, yes.
That's crazy, dude. I don't know if you can see this. This is that's the DT.
Oh, sweet. Nice. Yes, we can see that. That's great.
Nice.
Hey, I want to see. So we're running a little time, so I'm going to try to bring in Michael from Montreal.
Cool.
But words of wisdom before you head off. In pandemic time, you guys were out talking about life. What's a little Alan Tecchio wisdom before I send you off?
Oof. So, I mean, by day, I'm a restaurant broker. So that industry has been utterly devastated. And I do appreciate the fact that this, pandemic has impacted so many lives and sadly killed many people. However, I think the effect it's having on industry in general, especially the industry I work in, it's crippling to an effect that I don't know if it.
Oh, you froze for a second.
Underlying circumstances. He got COVID and died, but he was almost 90 years old. And I sympathize with that. But his son was telling me yesterday that his whole family, every single person in the family got it. They probably gave it to their dad, who they knew was at the end of his life anyway. And they feel horrible about it, but they all got sick for a little while and got better, and they're fine now, but they cannot reopen their business fully. And my thought on it is, I respect those that want to be super, super cautious because, life is short in general, let alone with a pandemic and a disease that could kill you. But I don't think that the majority of people are dying now. And the fact that the news isn't reporting the deaths anymore, they're only reporting cases, is highly suspicious to me. So I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist. And I do, again, respect anyone that doesn't want to, go out at all. And if you have underlying circumstances or you're very old, certainly that's a whole different dynamic. But for me, honestly, this hasn't changed. And I probably had it back in February. I haven't gotten tested yet, but I definitely had something where I didn't have my taste and my smell. And wow. I had a real estate agent show up at one of my listings and she sneezed in my face and I felt it. And I was like, seriously? Like, what are you doing out here?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And 2-3 days later, I was sick for about 3 or 4 days in a weird sickness. Like I never felt that way ever before, but I was debilitated. I lost sense of taste and smell and whatever. I didn't go to a doctor. I toughed it out of my bed, and I was back on my feet and working, and then the lockdowns happened. So wow. I moved down to Florida to see my dad. I got stuck down there for almost a month, which was good to take care of him because he's 92. And he's still with us and hasn't contracted anything, which is great. But I did notice that, it is profoundly affected everyone's behavior and stuff. And I don't know if it's all for the best. However, I am definitely respectful of however anyone wants to view this. And I'm not trying to say this is how it should be, however I think. But I haven't really let it affect me. Like I'm still trying to work as much as I can. It's very difficult because nobody wants to buy restaurants right now, as you can imagine.
Nobody wants to buy them, but I bet a lot of them want to sell them. I mean,
there are a lot of people that want to sell, and that is creating opportunity for me. There's no doubt, but I don't relish that opportunity the way that you might think. You know what I mean? Like it's sad to tell somebody. I met with somebody last week that wants to sell a restaurant. It's been in their family for 30 years, and what I told her, I think it's worth now because it's very uncertain terms, because the banks are only lending on what a place is currently producing. and you're not necessarily currently producing anywhere near what you did back in the heyday. So
right,
strange waters we're swimming in, but I'm in the swim, and I'm here to swim it through.
and you're remaining positive. Well, hey, thanks for tuning into the Journeys webcast and reliving some memories and sharing a little of that wisdom. And good luck on the book, man. I think that's really cool.
Thank you, man.
You've been doing it.
I appreciate you.
You'll be in touch. Okay, thanks, man. Michael in Montreal, are you still with us? I'm going to send you, it's a little invite coming through the chat or the sidebar there. Love to have you pop on a minute. And then I think we'll bring Julia back on just for a close, because she is a remarkable woman for what the journey she's been going through. But I'd love to see, because I know Michael is tuned in to many of these webcasts. So it's good to have some of you pop on and say hello. That was so cool to see Alan Tecchio on there and Chris earlier. Are you still with us, Michael? Did you tune out? Are you going through the process, the webinar jam test, your microphone, test your camera? Yeah. That's what's going on. So we've had people here, and that's great, from Peru, New Jersey, my neighbor right down the road, Chris, and wow. You know what I'm going to do really quick? I'm going to play you guys a video, and then Julia, I'd like you to come back on. Oh, Michael, you're there. Yeah. Cool. So let's have you come on for a minute and say hello, if you don't mind. I'm sending an invite to you as a presenter. While that happens, I'm going to play you a short video. This is just kind of fun.
I'm really not alone. No, I'm not alone on my motorcycle. I've got a film crew following me.
Well, listen, these guys have been hanging out the back of the thing, playing cool. He's in big trouble. They're gonna, they're being pulled over by the cops right now.
In some 75,000 miles of traveling around the road, I've never been pulled over.
I think Pan shouldn't be hanging out the back of that car, because it's kind of dangerous. I was always worried that he was gonna fall out, but he wants to do it and get the shot.
Have these guys broken the law? Pan is trying to talk himself out of this. Yes, they did. I keep telling them it's too dangerous to be traveling in there, and they just want to take pictures of me, and I've got enough pictures of me. I have too many.
It's Facebook and it's fine.
Yeah. So you can see we are here side of the road. I am not alone. I have a film crew following me, and I'm not on my motorcycle. I'm standing on the road because these guys have slowed me down. Now they're getting a ticket. These guys have clearly broken the law, and looks like our production has come to an end.
I mean, that's what he wants to do. He always wants to get the shot.
That was in Iceland. I just thought I'd play that since we were just talking about the time Alan there helped me out. So, Michael, did you get that? Did you get the invitation? Come on into the room and say hello. Tell us what's happening up in Montreal, and tune in. Yeah, so that was they were filming me as we were traveling around Iceland, and Pan, who is the director of photography and the producer for all practical purposes, was hanging in the back of that little small rental car with the camera, trying to track me as I was riding, and they were spotted by the Iceland police. And the minimum fine for something like that is $1,000, equivalent of $1,000. They never did really get a ticket. I think maybe I broke down a little levity to make fun of the situation, and I think that helped. And that video is classic. There it is, proof. Yeah, the restaurant industry is the one that is, and travel. Of course, this is why I started this Journeys webcast, because travel is still. Now, I think there's about I know Croatia will let Americans in right now, but you have to have a proven false test, negative test for COVID in order to get into that country. And you need to present that, I believe, within 24 hours or something like that. And then I know some of the Caribbean islands are open for U.S. tourists, like Bermuda, and I believe some of the other destinations, Aruba, I think, is letting them in, but not my kind of destinations, But okay, Michael's coming in. There you are.
Yeah.
How are you, Michael?
Good. Do I look like what you thought I'd look like?
I had no idea, but you've been coming on to you've been tuning into several of these webcasts, so I always love to see that we've got a Canadian in the room. I mean, how good is this? Where are you originally from?
I'm actually Ukrainian. I was born in Canada, but I'm Ukrainian.
Okay. Have you been back to Ukraine?
Yeah, I was there like 3 years ago. I think you've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, I was there about this time last year. I went to Odessa, I went to Kyiv, and I went down to Dobruja, which is down near the confluence of Romania and Moldova.
Yeah.
Or Bulgaria and Moldova, yeah.
I went to see some of my relatives I've never seen. I was in Kiev and Lvov, which I really like Lvov. And everybody thinks the Ukraine is like a backward place, and then I said, well, they got the same stuff we got basically here if you have the money and the time and to search around. So I don't know. I always tell people I had a great time there. Notwithstanding.
Yeah, the perfect phone call. Remember that? No, but it got a lot of Ukraine got into the public eye during this whole impeachment craziness that we had here, of course. And when I was there, which was about August or September of last year, I needed a very special cable that I had been looking for my computer to connect to a hard drive. And I couldn't find it in Romania. Certainly it wasn't in Moldova, but there it was. Like you said, they do have everything. And I found it in a very nice store in Kyiv. And it made the rest of my trip a lot easier, because otherwise I had to use like this adapter, and it was kind of a crazy thing. But yeah, very, very modern, very interesting history, of course. In its recent history is very, very interesting. And its current president, for those who don't know the story, but he played a president on a comedy show on television before he became the real president.
You can actually get it on YouTube, and it's quite hilarious. It's even more hilarious if you understand Ukrainian, but they have subtitles. So it's fiction meets the reality. I don't know. It's like so bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, by
so
the
tell
way,
us.
I'm pretty sure I am a motorcyclist, KLR rider,
Okay, so KLR, I was going to ask you that. And are you, now we're pushing into September. Is it still warm enough to ride?
Yeah, I was riding my bike today. Actually, I went to see a guy I know. He just bought a GS, 209 GS today for like, $9,000 with 10,000 kilometers on it. He's like a buddy of mine, and he bought it off a dealer I know. So, when somebody buys a bike, we all have to show up. It's a law.
It's the law.
Yeah, it's the law. So you got to ooh and ah and have coffee. And, I'm retired right now, and I've been retired for a few years. And generally, I would go away 3 or 4 times a year traveling. I was on my way to Japan in March when they canceled everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so
I've ridden my bike to, I've ridden my bike from Canada all the way to Copper Canyon in Mexico.
Oh, very good. Nice.
I've ridden my bike in every state in the United States. I mean, the continental United States. I don't know if you've ever done the Trans-Labrador Highway in Canada.
No, it's on my wish list for sure. I want to do that road. I want to do Newfoundland and Labrador. It's there, and those two little islands. They still speak French out there. I forget what are they called?
Saint Pierre, Miquelon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually belong to France. They don't belong to Canada. You know.
Yes, it is France. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the Magdalen Islands too, which belong to Quebec and Canada. You know, we're talking about riding here. I mean, it's the temperature here is about 14 Celsius. We're in metric here. I know the United States, the last country in the world, and Myanmar that are on
the imperial system. Yeah, it's crazy. We blew it.
I never really got that in the United States. Why don't we just switch over? But you know, that's politics.
Yeah, there was a window of time where we were, I think in the 70s or 80s. I don't know when it was, but we were supposed to make that decision, and for whatever bozo reason, we didn't. Metric system just makes so much sense. But I'm pretty good at the metric measuring units, but the temperature 14 degrees Celsius. There's a great thing. I've got a friend here. Let me ask her.
Okay.
What's 14 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
Just a sec.
What, 65?
57.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's 57.2 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's okay, but when you get going 40, 50 miles an hour, that can have a brisk chill for you right now. That's for sure. You got to have a little bit of a layer, right?
I'll ride right into the middle of November, even if it's like 0 degrees Celsius. You know what I mean? I'll ride. It's I got all the equipment. I've been doing this for 40 years. It's not like, I actually spend money on clothing, and I don't know. It's coming. I'm like 66 years old now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and do you have heated gear that plugs in? Do you use heated gear?
Yeah. I got yeah. And I don't even put it on because the KLR can hardly heat itself up.
The KLR, yes, the KLR is still holding on to 1980s technology too, isn't it? It's but it's a workhorse. Come on, that's
never failed me. Never fell down a cliff once in Mexico down a hill. I was stuck in the middle of Baja, and then I stopped some truck drivers on the highway, and we, like 5 of us, went down into a gully, and we brought the bike back up, and it started right away, no problem. Then I went to
Moulahay, which is a beautiful place, isn't it? Oh, just paradise. Yeah.
I was actually thinking of buying another bike, the Yamaha 700 to Tenere. And I went and looked at it in the dealership, and in Canada, that's the $14,000 motorcycle with the exchange and all that, And then I looked and I said, "But what does this bike do that my KLR doesn't? Except it's newer, it's got more horsepower and all this kind of stuff." So I nixed that idea till next year. I mean, if the KLR blew up this year, which I doubt it because you can't kill it, maybe I'd get a super Tenere.
The super Tenere, the Tenere, and that's a new, right? That was just introduced recently, right?
Yeah, you see a lot of them out here now. I mean, it's the KLR. It's the KLR should have built. You know what I mean? Instead of, I mean, it's a fine looking bike. I mean, when you buy it off the showroom floor, you'll need another $4,000 or $5,000 just to get it up to a level that you want to go touring with,
Yeah, if you want to do
bare bones bike with bare bones equipment. So, and then it'll drive up the price to $20,000 Canadian, which is about 15,000 US. So I don't know if that bike's such a bargain anymore. Considering
no, it doesn't sound like a bargain, and so your friend bought the small little BMW? Is that what
he bought the 1200 Adventure GS that somebody traded in. Somebody traded that bike in for a Yamaha Tenere, and the used bike didn't even get on the floor before he had his hands on it. I mean, he paid 9,000 Canadian, which is 7,000 US, and it's
Yeah.
got 9,000 kilometers on it, and it's fully equipped. But nobody wants to buy these big bikes anymore. You know, the trend is like going towards the smaller type.
This is something I totally agree with. The smaller is better. If I could find a worthy 400cc something, you know, I would be traveling that around the world. Now I carry a lot of crap, that's for sure. You know, cameras and computer and all that stuff. But you know, when you go into some of these questionable roads, especially if they're traveling alone, I can't pick up my motorcycle with all the stuff on. I have to take everything off of it. And
that's happened to me. You know, I don't know how it is. We start with this. We're gonna take this, and this, and all of a sudden we got everything. I mean, I try and avoid that now. I just take bare necessity. You know.
Yeah. I try to. I definitely, when I first set out, man, forget it. It was a crazy thing. But now I've been doing this. I've been traveling the world for over 10 years, and I've really owned it in. Very good.
I have read your book.
Thank you. And do you like to cook?
Yes, I do. But I'm not a drinking man. I used to be a drinking man. I really had a good time. Too much.
So you put that aside, which is all fine and good. I appreciate that. I right now, because I have this vertigo thing, my motorcycle is sitting in the garage over there. The garage is just more like a carport. It doesn't have a door, and it is just looking. I need to like even just pull it out to clean it, because it's just got a thick coat of dust. Because I haven't, you know, I go out there and start it every once in a while, but I don't want to get on it until I feel a little bit better. But
I ride my bike here, rain or shine, every day. It really doesn't matter to me. I mean, you know, the summers are so short in the northern part of, you know. I don't know if you've ever been to Montreal, but
yeah, I've been to Quebec City. I've been to Montreal.
Thing here too.
Yeah, so give us before I bring Julia back on, what is the situation in Canada and your ability to travel or not travel?
Well, you can't go to the eastern part of Canada because this province, like New Brunswick, they've closed their borders. They don't want anybody going in that area. Well, you know, that's yes and a no. I mean, in Quebec here, you got to wear a face mask or you get a fine. Like if you get on a city bus, you better wear a face mask because they can pull you off and give you a fine, which somebody are saying, oh, a bunch of fascists and everything. But I mean, our infection rate here is really low. The borders between the United States and Canada are closed. And like people in my province, you know, we're not that interested in saying, open them up and bring everybody here. No. I mean, Canada's, as you're probably well aware, just a little bit different in the United States. We got the same type of stuff and same type of attitude about certain things. But I mean, people here seem to be taking the COVID really seriously and they're trying to get it down, you know?
Yeah.
Like I tell everybody, you know, all dressed up, nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and in Canada, you know, when we come back and think of something else, Canada's also, you know, as you said, you know, you don't want to open the border up and let everyone in, but Canada pre-pandemic, of course, is one of the most open countries to immigration, like for people like you from Ukraine. I was just showing that video when I was filming my TV show. The director of photography, not Pan, he's Greek, but and also a first generation Greek Canadian. The other guy, the director of photography, Isaiah, is from his family's from Ukraine. He's a first generation, Ukrainian American, Ukrainian Canadian, of course. So there's a big Ukrainian community in throughout Canada, isn't there?
Oh yes, there's in Canada about 2 million. But this is diluted itself after a while. I mean, you know, I don't know if they speak Ukrainian. I actually do, but there's about 2 million. A lot of them are out west. There's in my city, Montreal. There's about 60 or 70,000 of us in and around. They're spread across Canada and the United States as well. There's a lot in Chicago. There's a lot in New York.
Yeah, yeah.
When I went to Argentina, and I know there was a lot of Ukrainians in Argentina after World War II. They went there, and they actually have Ukrainian churches there. And I went and I looked at it, and they're having a mass. Well, the mass is done in Ukrainian, but nobody speaks Ukrainian. You know what I mean? They speak Spanish. So and I told them, and they welcomed me there, and they said, "We'll find somebody to speak Ukrainian." I said, "No, it's okay. I can speak Spanish." You know what I mean? So I like, I've been in a lot of countries in the world. I'd say about 70.
Wow.
Yeah, like anytime I go to a foreign country, if I can rent a motorcycle as opposed to what you did, I mean, I'll rent a bike, scooter.
Yeah.
That. I like, that's my idea of adventure, but I've had a lot of good ones. I've been all over Asia, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, all of them. South America.
Oh, wow.
I've been to the bottom, Ushuaia.
Yeah, you're definitely an adventurer. That's no question.
Yeah, I try and live up to the hype I give everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's good. The woman we were talking to, the Kazakhstani woman, Julia, she was on her way to Ushuaia. Just started. Decided leaving Ecuador and on her way down on a Chinese-built motorcycle. But I'm gonna see. We're a little bit over our time, but I'm gonna try to bring her back on just for a quick little last howdy. But I want to thank you for popping on and dealing with the technology, and for joining the Journeys Webcast, and also being watching this because I know you've tuned in several times. So and it's great to find somebody who's been to more than 70 countries that tunes in. So you get it. You get it.
No, when I hear you speak, I said, yeah, I know what he means and all that. But I tell people, they say, well, you travel so much, I'm going to do it when I retire. I says, no, you're not. If you don't do it when you have the time, you'll never do it. That's what I tell people. I said, you got to bite the bullet and do it. I mean, like traveling is hardship too. It's not all, oh boy, let's go for a drink at 4:00 after we ride our bikes. I said, no, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I've had a lot of terrible trips, put it that way.
Yeah. We've all had setbacks, right? I mean, this is, in fact, it's sometimes that what makes the journey fulfilling to me is when I've got a problem and I solve it. That gives you a sense of accomplishment. If it's just a big, la-di-da, I'm cruising around and flirting with girls and drinking beers in the bars. No, that's not it. No, not at all. I mean, I'm writing, I'm doing a lot of photography, and and you get frustrated. I was sharing a story. I do this thing on Instagram Live every once in a while. I just pop on and tell a story from the road, just to kind of, it's just a thing I do. And not yesterday, but on Friday, I did a story. I was telling a story about a very bad day I had going from Ethiopia into Sudan. And it was a horrible day. But at the end, now it's a good story. And that's why I told the story. So it's on, people can go to it on my YouTube channel, Patio Stories. Patio-stories.com takes you to the playlist. But anyway, that's, but you're right. Yeah.
That's the only continent. I've only been in one country in that continent, and that's Morocco. I've been there a few times.
Yeah, and that's one I have yet to go to. So you got one up on me, but I'm sure our paths will have to cross. So maybe I'll see you on the Trans-Labrador Highway someday. Because
you better do it quick. They're starting to pave over the whole thing.
Oh no! Don't say it.
They're about 45% of the way through, or something like that. Before it used to be like an adventure route. Now it's becoming like a quasi-tourist thing, like and everybody can do it.
Yeah, well, there's a road if you saw Long Way Down, when Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman in that series of The Long Way Down, they go through Sudan, and they are bitching and complaining about being on big bikes because they're taking that sand road that runs along the Nile. and they're dropping it all the time. I know I did. I dropped it constantly, and I just had to wait till the guys with camels showed up and helped me lift it up. But that road now is entirely paved. Chinese. Paved. Yeah.
I used to get a long way around. What I forget what it. I used to get a good laugh out of watching that series. I mean, it to me was tongue in cheek, the whole thing. I said, "Well, give me $5 million and a camera crew, and I'll do that on a BMW." But like the funniest thing is when they were in the Ukraine and they met the crazy Ukrainian guy who's been drinking too much with the Kalishnikov or whatever he had. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's how do you call it? I found the thing heavily produced. It was entertainment in the end with
and these guys had they had crews carrying extra parts. There were people in 4x4s following them. I mean, it's not like what I did or what you do. It's much more.
I couldn't be bothered to set up the GoPro in the morning to film myself. I just said, I'm not doing that.
That's cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, and I wish you luck. I wish you a lot more good riding, Michael. And truly, thanks for tuning in. And I'm trying to think, how do we say? Well, that's right. But I'm thinking Ukrainian, Nastravia or Nastrovia. Okay, my friend.
Okay. Take care. Goodbye.
Be good.
Bye to everybody in your land there too.
Thank you so much, and I love the Canadians, as you know.
Now there's a lot of room for Americans here to come visit.
Well, let's see what happens in this election. You never know; you might have an influx.
In Canada, we're quite concerned about that as well here.
Yeah.
Considering our prime minister is mostly disliked by certain people in the American administration.
Oh, right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. I don't know if Chris says that there's another country who elected a TV show host as a president. It was Jamaica, I guess. I didn't know that. Julia, if you're still there, do you still have that link? Do you want to pop on for just about 5 minutes, and we'll say a goodbye and see some of those beautiful surroundings in Peru? If you're still on, I know we've pushed past our deadline, but these webcasts seem to be going faster. But come on in. I'm gonna pour a little more rosé, and toast to the 19th episode where you are the guest here on the Journeys Webcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And it's great to see the faces of so many of you pop onto the room here. At some day, I would love to upgrade. It's a few $100 for this platform where I could bring in, 4 people at once, and that would be kind of fun. But as it is now, I'm limited to just bringing in one at a time. So let's see if did we lose you? We might have lost Julia because she was probably. Oh, yeah. How do you get back? Okay, so same thing as before. If you still have that email, I'll just invite you again because I think that worked. Here we go. Invite as presenter, Julia. There you go. If you didn't get the invite, okay, here we go. I love it when technology works. And here she comes, my Kazakhstani friend from Peru. You're inside now.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It's
cold. Okay, yeah, it's nighttime, right? Awesome.
Plus, I am at 12,000 feet, so it gets pretty cold at nights.
Yeah, but it is a beautiful, beautiful place, huh?
Yep.
What's the nearest city?
I left Arequipa some time ago. So actually, nearest town, I don't even know how to pronounce it properly, but it's very close to Colca Canyon. So nearest town, about 150 kilometers, about 100 miles would be Arequipa.
And is it, you said there's some hope for October 1st to be opening up, but what about just are masks required? I know you're in a more rural area, but what's happening there?
It is fairly strict. I mean, we've been in the very strict quarantine for 4.5 months where literally don't even go out on the streets. There was only one person allowed in the supermarket. We didn't have it day by day, but there was a lot of limitations. Now masks are required, especially in big cities. But where I am now, the other day driving into town, people are pretty relaxed. But because this town only has 6 or 7 cases of COVID, so the moment they see that you're kind of a normal human being and you're friendly, I didn't have a problem with that. But they say that there's about $25 or $30 fine if you're not wearing a mask, and people are required to wear face shields and masks on public transport.
Face
so even
shields.
that, those plastic things. So yeah, every time I see people wearing full body suit with the hoodie and the hair kind of mask, and they have these plastic glasses and 2 masks, one surgical, one the other kind, with designs, and the face shield. it's like sometimes it's like, oh, there are aliens around here.
Yeah. Are you on another planet? That's right.
But no, I mean, thankfully, so far, not a single time that I got stopped by police or interacting with officials. I mean, I guess they understand also how ridiculous some of these measures are. Well, they're probably needed, but I'm thankful that wearing a motorcycle helmet exempts me from wearing a mask.
Right.
Although majority of motorcyclists here, they wear the helmet and the mask, so I don't. And so far, fingers crossed, so good.
Yeah. I think you have to practice a little prudence. I mean, I walk or I'm riding my bicycle, still not getting on the motorbike, but if I'm getting close to a crowd of people, and then I'll put the mask on, but I'm not leaving it on. Just
right.
No,
I mean, I can't do past 15-20 minutes. I start suffocating. I can't handle it.
So Arequipa, you were down there, but that gets pretty close to the Bolivia border, isn't it?
Arequipa is about, also a little over 100 miles, maybe 150 miles. My story was that on the last day before the borders between Peru and Chile were closed, we actually made it from Puno, which is the Titicaca Lake, the Bolivian border. And in the morning of that day, the hotel owner said that today the borders with Chile are closing. So it was a mad rush. I mean, it was about 500 kilometers of crazy riding through hail and snow and fog and rain all day long. And we got to the Chilean border, and I was refused entry because my Kazakhstani passport needs a visa. And for some reason, my travel agent said, no, it's a visa on entry. So I got stuck for about 4.5 months in a tiny little city of Tacna, right on the border with Chile. And that was literally just about 20 miles from the Chilean border. So the strictest part of quarantine was there.
Could have you taken the ferry across Lake Titicaca over to what is it? Casablanca? No, what's it?
I don't know. I guess Bolivia was not on the map. It was much easier to go through Chile because it was 16th of March, and Ushuaia around that time was getting cold. The objective was to just ride down Chile as fast as possible to get to Ushuaia while the weather is still good.
Because you were pushing the weather there for sure.
Yeah.
Well, now once it goes, maybe Bolivia's on your future. Go out to the Salar de Uyuni.
I much prefer Brazil and Bolivia to Chile because Chile seems to be having a lot of civil unrest problems.
They've been having a lot of protests. Again, they tried to raise the wage for, the fare for the public transit, and through everything, and that was right before the pandemic hit.
Right.
I haven't followed that. I wanted to just before we close the webcast today, because when you and I were exchanging some emails, you had that fascinating story how you went from a scooter to a Chinese built bike, and that was a little one, and now you're on that. They've kind of found out that you had traveled all over Peru, the Chinese company or the distributor, whoever it was, but you're kind of sponsored now, huh?
Well, I don't know, not much. I mean, what happened to me initially is that I bought a 200cc Chinese bike, which is your typical, very cheap, as just over $1,000 worth bike. And that was actually my first bike. I mean, I literally bought it. 3 days later, I came to pick it up to the store, and I all of a sudden realized that I don't know how to ride a bike with gears. And I asked the shop owner to show me how to change gears.
Because you were always on these automatic scooters, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what the boys there looked at me like, that woman is not coming back home today. But I mean, I rode that Chinese bike for about 7 months. I did about 20,000 kilometers on it all over Ecuador. And one fine day, I met the owners of the factory, and they kind of looking at my bike and saying, "What'd you do with it? We don't even recognize our bike," because I had panniers and I have portable massage table on it. So it was like, what's this animal? And they just absolutely flipped that I can do 500 kilometers in one day, going from the coast all the way across the Andes, across the 4,000 meter, which is about 13,000 feet. And go on the other side. They couldn't believe that. And they actually came to sponsor Horizons Unlimited Meet in Ecuador. Whereas where it was that I got to ride this big Benelli, which is what I'm riding now, Benelli TRK 502X. That's what I'm on now. It's an Italian bike. It's mostly manufactured in China and assembled in Ecuador. And I think mine is one of the first bikes in Ecuador that got on the road, which they really like the fact that I'm taking this bike down around South America, because it's more or less a showcase. I have not really met Benellis on the road, and right now in Peru there are not even there are no Benelli bikes here. So I'm just hoping that nothing happens. But so far it's been a wonderful machine. And I just heard that they launched this bike in the US. So I'm here to say that it's a wonderful bike.
It's going to be, it's in the US. So Benelli, the only thing Italian about it's its name, because if it's in, obviously the design, I guess, but it's mostly from parts from China, but assembled in Ecuador. Now, do you know if the bikes in the US will be from Ecuador, or will they be assembling them in the US?
I don't think so, because there are these bikes are very largely present in Argentina, and I met few riders, Argentinian riders, and they said, yeah, this bike is all over the place. You can get enough parts there. So they might. I mean, the little factory that manufactures it in Ecuador is a very tiny enterprise, and I'm pretty sure to set it up in the U.S. in a similar way probably would be more feasible than lagging it from Ecuador to
exporting.
US.
Yeah. Wow. So that's fascinating, and you like the bike?
I do. Well, yeah, it's about 3 times the size of my previous bike, and I mean, the first month I was probably dropping it every other day.
Is it tall?
I'm just not used to such a big machine. It's about 230 kilos, so that makes it about close to 500 pounds.
Wow, yeah, loaded. That's heavy. Yeah,
it's a miniature version of GS. It even looks like that. A lot of people ask me, "Is that a GS?" No, it's a very worthy machine. So far, I've been for hundreds of kilometers off-road on it, gravel, very high altitude. The other day, getting to this town, had to cross 16,000 feet. No problem. Off-road, high, low.
Is it
small
fuel
paths.
injected or carbureted?
It's fuel injected.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a great machine. I haven't been able to reach the bottom of the tank yet because it's just some crazy 60, 70 or 80 miles per gallon. Is just insane.
Is it a 1-cylinder or two?
Two.
Two.
2-cylinder.
So yeah, mine's the GS Dakar, right, which is 650, and it's 1-cylinder, and it gets about 60 miles a gallon. As long as I'm not, going into heavy headwinds and
right.
going real fast. But that's what I like about it. Those GSs, the big boys, the big ones that so many people ride. I can. They're stopping the gas station twice as many times as I am.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome on the Benelli. Well, I'll let you go. I thank you for staying in for so long and sharing us the story, and also your Atlas therapy, which I have to kind of go pretty far to get the treatment. Nobody in this part. But at some point, I'm going to go and try that and see if that helps with the vertigo, because that was, if anything else, it can just align you and make you feel better.
Oh,
right?
definitely, yes. There's a lot of. If you go into, if I had to do a short spiel on the science of it, basically, it's a pivotal point where a lot of your nerve endings and arteries that supply oxygen and just food to the brain, it's all situated in this little area. And if your atlas is malrotated, what happens is the little side processes on that little bony processes, they restrict the blood flow, they pinch the nerves, and you get, numb hands, or you get chronic migraines, or just plain and simple, even blood pressure, because it's not equal flow through the arteries and veins in your neck area. So even just doing that, majority of patients that I've had, they all attest to their brain working differently. You get calmer, you get more rational. All of a sudden, the world is not a dangerous place anymore. So there's a lot of very amazing, even psychological effects of that, which is, I guess, why I changed from corporate trainer on cross-cultural management to an alternative therapist.
Alternative
it didn't
therapist.
touch me that much.
And it was developed by the Swiss, right? Was I right on that?
Yes, it's René Schumperli. It's a Swiss method out of, I think, late 60s. But it's got tweaked in different countries, so there are plenty. But the basis is the same. It's just rotation of the first spinal vertebra, first neck vertebra, C1.
C1.
So I do wish you all the best. If you find a good practitioner, I can guarantee that it's going to be a very pleasant adjustment and a very pleasant change to the body. Less tension, better everything.
I like the way you do that. That's good.
That's when you're able to do this wave with your body without getting a kink in the neck, that just I know, because I used to get it, and I've been in active sports most of my life, and I've done pretty heavy weightlifting, powerlifting. I just realized how different my body works after the alignment. It's just insane. Such a small little adjustment just does so much to the body. So
wow. Yeah, I thank you for reaching out and sharing that whole thing with me, and for coming onto the webcast.
Thank you.
I want to. I hope you can get out October 1st. Of course, you've got some time probably before you want to get down to. Well, you're coming into some better weather soon for Ushuaia, so the timing's going to work out for you, I think.
Yes.
And there is the Carretera Astral as well.
Yes.
It's
beautiful.
You're going to go down. Yeah. So anyway, let's stay in touch. I want to follow your journey as you go, and I thank you for that, and we'll see you maybe on another one of these down the road, because it seems Okay. Bye-bye.
Right,
thank you.
Bye.
That's awesome. Julia Goloskokova is a Kazakhstani woman in Peru making her way down to Ushuaia, the very southern tip of South America. Anyway, we've gone long today, but remember, I took last week's off, and I wanted to make sure I get as many people in as possible. So I thank you for the sticking around for the longer duration here, Journeys Webcast. But I want to let you know that next week I've got Michael Shapiro as my guest. He is a best-selling author. He is an editor. He's worked with National Geographic. He's written books on countries all around, and really interesting guy. He's got such a beautiful book that makes Forks. It looks, I think Forks is a great book, beautiful book. People love it. His Guatemala book could be a little bit even better, but we'll talk more with Michael Shapiro next week, Monday, on the 21st of September at 3:00. You'll get a notice certainly in the email. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And thank you for tuning in to the Journeys Webcast. I'm Allan Karl, your host. Be sure to tune us in every Monday. The time changes depending on where we are in the world. This is Allan Karl, and where will your next journey take you? Thank you. Love you guys.